Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. Today is Thursday, June 4th, 2020. Got something interesting happening today. The futures are actually trading a little bit lower. Shocking to a lot of people. One thing I will say though, as much as it was overdue, and again, you never want to say it's too high, you should be thinking about, if you really want to become a good stock trader, you should be thinking about how did I do in that bullish run of basically just over 2 months, when it was super obvious buying was the right thing? Were you buying as aggressively within your resources as you should have been? Were you holding trades long enough to maximize the profit potential on those trades? A lot of trades made new all-time highs over the last few weeks, especially. Um, if you did, congratulations. If you didn't, and this is a big thing, why not? As a trader, you need to be asking yourself constantly in a giant feedback loop with the market. Place trades, get feedback. Place trades, get feedback. And if you keep improving, that feedback loop keeps taking you higher and higher, and every single trade that you make is information for you to become a massively successful trader. And that's what it takes to keep climbing those levels of trading income. So just ask yourself how you did, and if you did not maximize what you know you could have done, you need to ask yourself why. So we're pulling back a little bit now. So again, getting in line with that, what is the next steps for the next best trades? So in other words, if we start to see a little bit of a pullback today, should you be shorting stocks if we open lower, trade lower, and stay lower for the day and end up getting a big red candle? If we do. If we don't, which stocks are the best stocks to buy based on you have room to go and they aren't extended maybe over the last week or so? I do have a list of some stocks to short today, some stocks that actually meet the criteria of short selling. Remember, as you're trading, if you want to be an awesome trader, you always need, even if you're bullish only, or bullish most of the time, you still need to have lists of stocks for both sides of the market. And something that's really a kind of small tip is if you're running your scans and you can't find any short sales, that's another reason why you should be, again, aggressive within the context of your own resources and risk tolerance. But now we're not seeing that. We're actually seeing some stocks, for example, Microsoft, where we definitely have some sector rotation, the market making all these new highs, but Microsoft hasn't moved in 3 weeks. A lot of these bigger tech stocks are not seeing the follow through, and we're rotating into away from some of these stay-at-home stocks into the stocks where I guess you would say you get outside. But the trade of the day, or I should say the stock of the day that we'll be talking about, is Genius Brands, which we'll take a look at the chart right now. We got some good stocks on both sides of the market, but as far as earnings are concerned today, let's actually go over to the screen and we'll take a look at that. And hang on 1 second. Okay, so obviously Genius Brands is the one we're going to talk about, but let's actually get into the earnings first. Just so you have your calendar out there, Ciena is reporting earnings today. DocuSign, which is one that's been one of those bullish runs. Broadcom, another one, actually one of the few tech stocks that actually is still following through. And also Work. Slack has been something we've been using. We actually use it every day, Slack and Zoom, ironically. Earnings today as well. So just really be paying attention to whether you want to trade it into earnings. Obviously, Zoom reported and just had another explosive day to the upside. Volume just through the roof the last couple of days. So if you happen to be long from these lower levels, this is it's a pretty big move. I know they reported good guidance. They were expecting it to continue. Nothing wrong with hanging on to some of it. But again, everybody has their own profit taking potential. But we want to get into right now the stock that everyone's talking about today, which, in case you have not seen it, here's the story. What I find super interesting about this story, and obviously you see 2,400%, this is so, I'm not going to say shady, but like, what important news coming ahead? I mean, what is the news? But this is what's super interesting here. Bearish bets keep rising to record levels. Those bears are getting their head handed to them. This is why I don't trade penny stocks. This is why I don't pump and dump. What's the guy's name? I can't even think of the guy's name, but he teaches people to short sell these stocks, these penny stocks, and look for these quick moves in the opposite direction. One trade like this and you wipe out your trading account. Very, very difficult to be shorting these penny stocks for one move like this, which is why I don't do it. So anyway, this should be in your list of stocks to watch over the next days, weeks, and months. It's obviously in the news today. It's probably going to get another spike just based on the fact that it's become front and center right now. I know I'll be watching it. I'll definitely be participating in it. It's just a question of where a 2,400% move this month is, over this run the last few weeks is just gigantic. Absolutely keep it on your radar. So how would I be trading it? 9 times out of 10, I'm typically looking for a place just above the 50% retracement level. And basically from the last move. So we're basically looking at from $1 to $8. So that's basically a $7 move. Half of that is $3.50. So I'm looking for $3.50, which would take me right into this $4, $5 area, depending on the exact price. So somewhere between 4 and 5 is where I'd be looking for the next spot for it to pull back. If it does pull back, it might not pull back. The only other chance that I'd be taking on this stock would be something very similar to this, where it exploded, gave me an inside candlestick, kind of paused. Just as important, that pause gives me a spot to manage my risk very cleanly, and then look for the next move to the upside. So those are the two scenarios. I personally would not be chasing this move to the upside. The downside risk, if it pulls back, yeah, sure, you could be disciplined, but I'd rather wait for a spot where it explodes like it did, either pauses or pulls back, and then gives me an opportunity to get involved. Some other stocks, as we said, we're looking at stocks on the short side. I'm going to do something that I haven't really put on the screen in a while, which is moving averages, to give you an idea of why some of these trades came up in the scan. Roku actually was bearish yesterday on a day that the market was strong again, looking for some follow through on the short side in Roku today. Let's see. Kirkland as well. Kirkland's a little different though. I want to see a trade below 36, which still has another $1 to go there. Maybe that's setting up for a trade a little bit later in the week, meaning tomorrow. Let's see, ENPH is actually a stock that we've been trading on the long side that now has broken the uptrend by breaking this 56 level. And you can see it's actually now well offered and below that level. If we took that a little bit cleaner so you could see it, basically right there, we got below that level. But the short sale needs to be below yesterday's low. Interestingly, some of the gold stocks, which were, you would think that with the civil unrest would, flight to safety kind of thing, but they've also actually broken down. AEM and NEM, both looking for short sales here as well. And they actually have room to go as well. But we might not see follow through on the downside here in the gold stocks specifically, with the market pulling back. So I think I'd be leaning a little bit more towards non-commodity related stocks for the short sale. As far as on the long side, keep Penn in your list. It actually continues to pause at or near this big resistance level, and yesterday was an inside day. So I am actually looking for an explosion in volatility in Penn today. If it trades lower, I'm going to let it go. If it trades higher and ultimately gets through 34, I'm going to be aggressive with holding that, maybe even a longer term hold. CAR, we called that out a few days ago. Nice job if you participated and got some of that. We're still holding the swing trade. I don't see any reason to get out of it. Next resistance we called was around the 32.50 level. That's going to be our first target. Slack also had earnings. We just talked about that one today. Actually, I'm sorry, Slack earnings is today. So if you happen to be long Slack, think about the same thing that you might have considered heading into Zoom, and whether or not you want to hold it into earnings, whether or not you want to hold it after earnings. Does it become a blow off top? Zoom is a very interesting situation right now. Personally, if I was long and the stock has traveled that far, that fast, and the pandemic starting to seem like it's background news now, despite the fact that we're all still quarantined. Slack specifically, I think Zoom a little bit more than Slack, where I think a lot less people are going to be using Zoom because people are actually going to finally be getting to work. If I had the choice between the two and I was looking to book some profits, I'd probably be booking my profits in Zoom. Next, we have Square, which continues to just keep traveling through. And this is good example here of what we just looked at in Penn. Square is actually did exactly what we said to pay attention to for the next big move. And we actually just got a pretty good multi-day move here in Square, where Penn was doing the same thing right over here in front of resistance. We said, watch it, watch it, watch it. When it finally does pop, you're going to get a nice move. And that's what we just got. So we're actually looking for continuation. The thing about Square, especially if you're day trading it, it can tend to trade a little bit thin, where it just flies through bids and offers. So If you're very risk conscious, meaning you don't like to see trades move against you and like that conviction, it's not like trading something with a lot more liquidity where you can hit the bid and get out exactly where you want. So just keep that in mind, specifically if you're day trading Square but still looking long. Interestingly, on the long side as well, we've been watching the home builders, and you can see Toll Brothers still has a really nice, clean uptrend here. One thing I will say, though, is we're coming into a little bit of resistance, but I do feel very strongly that we should be paying attention to this and looking for the reopening and a nice spike. Now, this could be the reopening already priced in. We'll see. But a pause here should lead to another trade on the long side. A couple of interesting stocks that actually traded double their normal volume yesterday. Cheesecake Factory. Let me pull that up on the chart. You can see there. Look at that spike in volume in Cheesecake. First time it's getting up to this level, I'm not buying it. Although it is a fuel candlestick, meaning large volume and large green candlestick breaking out of a trading range, I'm not getting involved here. I want to see it get above this level, maybe even above 26 before I get involved, because then you have room up to 36 for the next move. And last but not least, something that is really hard to believe we're talking about, but double normal volume in United Airlines as well. Very similar, though. Wait for it to get above this level. Don't get caught where the first person buying the breakout. Although it did have double volume, although it did have a nice spike through that level, let these stocks that have been kind of dormant get through that level and at least close above the level before you get involved. You don't want to be trading it while it's still in that level that it hasn't been able to get through and see it just pull right back in. At a minimum, let it close above that level. And maybe we'll get lucky and see the very similar move that we just looked at in CAR, where once it finally got above that level and paused, which was a perfect chart, got above the level, paused for 3 days, and then launched into a new swing trade. And we had some money available there too. So hopefully you participated in that CAR trade as well. Not an expensive stock, so it should be easy for everybody to get involved in that one too. So GNUS, the stock of the day to pay attention to. Decide whether or not you want to get involved in that. Work. Slack has earnings today. Been a very popular stock to be trading actively. Looking for some follow through in Zoom and Square. Just a question of whether or not you want to hold that longer term, specifically Zoom. Square continues to see a rally. Keep an eye on Penn. Have a great day, everybody. If you have any comments, any stocks you'd like for us to watch, click down below and leave a comment. And definitely give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you find these videos helpful. Have an awesome day, everybody.